Tom shifted uncomfortably when he saw them standing there, Matt quiet, Peter tense. Your brother came with your dad, Tom said, trying to keep things neutral. Peter didn't even hesitate. We may have the same DNA, he said flatly, but we aren't brothers. I only have one brother and his name is Jeffrey. The words hung heavy in the room. Matt glanced at Peter, a little surprised by how firm he sounded, but didn't interrupt. Tom exhaled slowly. You really mean that? Before Peter could answer, there was a soft mechanical hum from the hallway. All three turned. Jeffrey rolled in. His power chair moved steadily, controlled, deliberate like everything about him. His hands rested lightly on the controls, but his posture said more than anything else. He wasn't backing down from anything anymore. Yeah, Jeffrey said calmly, looking straight at Tom. He means it. Tom's expression shifted, less defensive now, more unsure. Jeffrey, I didn't know you were coming. I didn't plan to, Jeffrey replied, but a lot of things haven't exactly gone to plan lately. Peter stepped slightly to the side, not in front of Jeffrey, not shielding him, but clearly beside him. Equal. Jeffrey noticed, he always noticed. Matt gave a small nod. We figured it's better to talk in person, no more half-truths. Tom rubbed the back of his neck. I get that, this is a lot. Jeffrey let out a quiet breath. Yeah, it is. There was a pause, not awkward, just real. Then Jeffrey adjusted slightly in his chair, grounding himself before continuing. I found out I was adopted. My life flipped in like 3 days. People I thought I understood, I didn't. People I didn't know existed suddenly matter. He looked at Tom. So I'm not here for drama, I'm here for honesty. Tom swallowed. You deserve that. Peter crossed his arms slightly, then start talking. Jeffrey glanced at Peter, then back at Tom. His voice softened just a little. And don't talk to me, talk to me. Tom nodded slowly. Okay, yeah, I can do that. Jeffrey leaned back into his chair, not retreating, just settling in. For the first time in a while, he wasn't overwhelmed. He was in control. Tom's voice came out low, almost like he didn't want the words to fully exist. Peter, Jeffrey isn't your brother, he said, he's your nephew. The room snapped tight. Jeffrey's hands gripped the controls of his power chair. You're lying. Tom shook his head, eyes locked on him. I'm not. A beat. Then. I'm your dad. Silence. Matt froze. Peter's expression hardened instantly. Jeffrey didn't move at all, like his body just stopped processing. No, Jeffrey said quietly, no, you're not. Tom stepped forward, but not too close. Your mom and I, we gave you up. Jeffrey's voice cracked just slightly. My mom. Tom's face fell. She died giving birth to you. That landed like a shockwave. Jeffrey's breathing got uneven. His grip tightened, knuckles whitening against the controls. No, he whispered again, but this time it didn't sound like denial, it sounded like something breaking. Peter stepped in immediately, placing a steady hand on Jeffrey's shoulder. Hey, look at me, Peter said, firm but grounded. Jeffrey didn't at first. Peter pushed gently, look at me. Slowly, Jeffrey turned his head. You don't have to believe anything right now, Peter said. Not him, not this, you take your time. Matt nodded, we can walk out right now. Tom's voice cracked, I'm not lying, I should have told you sooner, Stop, Peter cut him off sharply. You don't get to drop something like that and expect him to just stand there and take it. Jeffrey swallowed hard, eyes glassy. All this time, he said, barely audible, you knew. Tom nodded slowly, yeah. And you said nothing. I thought I was protecting you. Jeffrey let out a hollow laugh, protecting me. He shook his head, overwhelmed, trying to piece together a life that suddenly didn't make sense anymore. My whole life's been people deciding things for me, he said, who I am, where I go, what I know. Peter's hand stayed steady on his shoulder. Jeffrey looked up again, this time straight at Tom. You don't get to be my dad just because you say it now. Tom didn't argue. Didn't defend. He just stood there, finally facing the weight of it. Peter spoke again, quieter but unshakable. He's right. Jeffrey exhaled, shaky but holding himself together just enough. Let's go, he said. And this time he turned his chair himself, choosing to leave on his terms. Matt blinked, completely thrown. What? Tom didn't look away this time, he let it land, let the weight of it sit in the room. He's your grandson, Dad. The word hit harder than anything else had. Matt took a step back like he needed space just to process it. No, hold on, you're saying, he looked at Jeffrey, then back at Tom. You're saying Jeffrey is your son, which makes him my grandson, Tom finished quietly. Jeffrey's chair hummed faintly as he shifted, his breathing uneven again. Stop talking about me like I'm not right here. Matt immediately looked at him. You're right, I'm sorry. Peter's jaw tightened. This just keeps getting worse. Matt ran a hand over his face. Tom, you're telling me all these years you knew and you didn't tell anyone, not me, not him. Tom shook his head slowly. I was young, scared, her family wanted everything kept quiet. After she died it just got buried, and the longer it stayed buried, the harder it was to dig back up. Jeffrey let out a shaky breath. So I lost my mom and my dad just decided to disappear too. Tom flinched. It wasn't like that. It is like that, Peter snapped. That's exactly what it is. Matt stepped closer, his voice softer now, but heavier. All this time he was right here and I didn't even know he was my grandson. Jeffrey looked at him, eyes still wet but more focused now. I didn't know either. That silence came back, but different this time. Not just shock, something deeper, something that couldn't be fixed in one conversation. Matt nodded slowly like he was accepting something he couldn't change. Okay, we don't solve this today. Peter agreed, no we don't. Tom swallowed, I just didn't want to lose him. Jeffrey looked straight at him. You don't get to lose something you never showed up for. That one stuck. Peter gave Jeffrey a small nod. You ready? Jeffrey took a breath, steadier this time. Yeah. Matt hesitated, then said quietly, Jeffrey, we'll figure this out, on your terms. Jeffrey nodded once. Then turned his chair again, choosing once more to move forward rather than stay stuck in everything that just changed. Jeffrey's chair went still. One thing, he said, voice tight but controlled. If my mom died giving birth to me, then who took me to the firehouse? Tom closed his eyes for a second, like he'd been dreading that question. Your mom, she arranged it before, he said quietly. She paid a nurse to take you to make sure you were left somewhere safe. Jeffrey stared at him, trying to piece together something that didn't feel real. A plan, he muttered. She made a whole plan and I never knew. Before anyone could respond, Will stepped forward, anger rising fast. Pat, my wife, your mother knew, he demanded. She knew all this and never told me. Tom nodded once. Yeah, she knew. Will's voice cracked between anger and hurt. Then why didn't you tell me? Why keep me in the dark all these years? Tom looked at him, guilt written all over his face. Because you would have told me to keep him, Tom admitted. You would have said not to do the same thing we did with Peter. That hit Peter hard. His expression shifted, pain, realization, and something unresolved all mixing together. So you knew it was wrong, Peter said quietly. You knew exactly what you were doing. Tom didn't answer. Jeffrey let out a shaky breath, his emotions starting to spill over again, but this time there was something steadier underneath it. My whole life, he said, was decided by people trying to do what's best without ever asking me. Will ran a hand through his hair, still processing. Pat carried that secret alone. Matt shook his head slowly. This family's been built on silence. Jeffrey looked between all of them, then down at his hands. No more, he said. Peter nodded immediately. No more. Jeffrey lifted his head, eyes landing on Tom. If you want anything to do with me, he said, firm now, you don't get to hide behind excuses anymore. No more secrets. No more I thought it was best. You tell the truth or you stay out of my life. Tom swallowed hard. Okay. Jeffrey didn't soften. He just nodded once, like terms had been set. And for the first time, the story wasn't being controlled by the past. It was being decided by him. Jeffrey's voice came out small but urgent. Peter, please take me home now. Peter didn't argue, he just looked at him carefully. Anything else you need first? Jeffrey shook his head fast. No, let's just go. Then it hit him all at once. A sob broke out of his chest, sharp, uncontrollable. His whole body tensed in the chair, hands gripping hard like it was the only thing keeping him together. Peter stepped closer, steady and calm. Okay, I've got you, I'll get your chair to the van. I don't care, Jeffrey yelled, voice cracking. I need to go. The room went silent again, but this time no one tried to stop them. Peter nodded immediately. All right, we're going. He moved quickly but carefully, guiding the power chair, making sure Jeffrey was secure without making a big deal out of it. Matt spoke softly from behind, call me when you get home. Peter gave a short nod, I will. Jeffrey didn't look back. Didn't say anything else. His breathing was uneven, tears still falling, but he kept his eyes forward, locked on the exit like it was the only thing that mattered. Peter stayed right beside him the whole way. Not rushing him. Not slowing him down. Just there. As they reached the door, Jeffrey wiped at his face, trying to pull himself together, but another quiet sob slipped out anyway. Peter lowered his voice, you're okay, we're almost out. Jeffrey nodded barely. And then they were outside, away from the noise, away from the weight of everything that had just shattered. Just the two of them. And for now, that was enough. Ron had barely stepped out onto the driveway when the van pulled in. That was quick, he said, half confused, half concerned. The door slid open. Jeffrey didn't wait. I'm Tom's bastard child, he said flatly, which means Peter's not my brother, he's my uncle. The words hit like a brick. Ron froze, what? Peter came around the van, his expression tight. It's complicated. Jeffrey let out a bitter, shaky laugh from his chair. Not really, he's my dad. My mom died when I was born, and apparently I got dropped off at a firehouse like some kind of secret nobody wanted. Ron's face shifted from confusion to shock to something heavier. Jeffrey, I didn't know. Yeah, Jeffrey said, quieter now, nobody did. There was a long pause. Ron stepped a little closer, careful, like he didn't want to overwhelm him. Hey, labels don't change who you are to us. Jeffrey looked down at his hands, feels like they do. Peter shook his head, no they don't, you're still you. Ron nodded, and you're still family, however messy it is. Jeffrey swallowed hard, eyes still glassy, family built on lies. Peter crouched slightly beside him, not in front, not over him, just there. Then we build something better, Peter said, starting now, no more lies. Jeffrey didn't respond right away. But he didn't pull away either. Ron exhaled slowly, come inside, we'll figure this out one step at a time. Jeffrey wiped his face with the back of his hand, exhausted. Yeah, okay. Peter guided him gently toward the house, staying close. Not fixing it. Just staying. And for right now, that was enough. Jeffrey's voice came out raw and exhausted. Peter, put me in bed, I'm fucking done. Peter didn't react to the anger and the words, he just nodded once. Okay, I've got you. He moved carefully behind the power chair, steadying it and guiding Jeffrey inside. No rushing, no questions, just getting him somewhere safe and quiet. Inside, the house felt too loud even though nobody was speaking much. The weight of everything earlier still hung in the air, but Peter didn't let it reach Jeffrey right now. I'm going to help you transfer, all right, Peter said softly. You tell me if anything hurts or feels off. Jeffrey barely nodded. His energy was gone, spent from shock, anger, grief, everything all at once. Peter worked calmly, making sure he was secure and comfortable in bed. Once he was settled, he adjusted the blanket gently and stepped back just enough to give him space, but not enough to leave. Ron stayed in the doorway, quiet now, watching with a heavy expression but not interrupting. Peter spoke again, voice low, you don't have to talk right now, just rest. Jeffrey stared up at the ceiling, breathing uneven but slowly settling. I just wanted to stop, he muttered. Peter nodded, I know. A pause. Then Peter added, you're safe here. Jeffrey didn't answer. But his shoulders dropped a little anyway, like his body finally believed he didn't have to fight anymore tonight. Peter finished helping him get changed, working quietly and efficiently, focused only on making Jeffrey comfortable and taken care of. He reached for the knee pillow, adjusting it gently. Jeffrey immediately tensed, not tonight. Peter paused, hands still. You'll be in pain if I don't position you right. I'm already in fucking pain, Jeffrey snapped, voice breaking at the end. Peter didn't argue back, he just nodded once. Okay, he said calmly, I'll still put it there anyway, but we'll do it your way, tell me if it's too much. A beat of silence passed. Jeffrey's breathing was uneven, anger fatting into exhaustion. "Sorry," he muttered, "I know you're trying to make me comfortable." Peter's expression softened. "You don't need to apologize." Carefully, he adjusted the pillow in a way that supported Jeffrey without forcing anything, checking his reaction as he went. When Jeffrey didn't protest again, Peter stepped back just a little. "All right," Peter said quietly, "you're settled, you don't have to deal with anything else tonight." Jeffrey stared at the ceiling, voice smaller now. "I can't think straight." "That's okay," Peter replied, "you don't have to." He pulled the blanket up a bit more, making sure everything was in place, then stayed nearby instead of leaving. Ron hovered in the doorway but didn't speak. Jeffrey finally exhaled, long and shaky. "Don't leave me alone with my thoughts," he said. Peter nodded immediately. "I'm not going anywhere." Jeffrey's voice cracked as he stared up at the ceiling. "He saw me for 8 months," he said, barely steady. "Pat for 12 years and nobody told me anything, not a word, and today of all days, why now?" The frustration broke into something deeper, hurt that had been sitting under everything else all day. Peter stayed where he was, close enough to be there, far enough not to crowd him. "I don't know why they chose today," Peter said quietly, "but I do know it's not fair to you." Jeffrey let out a shaky breath. "It feels like my whole life was just waiting for someone else to decide when I get the truth." Peter nodded once. "Yeah, that part's real, they did that, not you." A pause filled the room, heavy but not empty. Jeffrey's hands curled slightly in the blanket. "I don't even know what I'm supposed to feel." "You don't have to figure it out tonight," Peter said. "Anger, grief, confusion, whatever it is, it can all just exist for now, you don't have to solve it." Jeffrey's eyes stayed fixed on nothing. "I hate this," he whispered. "I know," Peter replied. Another pause. Then Peter added softer, "But you're not alone in it anymore. That part changed today." Jeffrey didn't respond right away. But his breathing slowed just a little. And for the first time since everything came out, the room wasn't demanding answers from him. Just giving him space to exist inside the mess. Jeffrey didn't ease into it. He rolled in, stopped, and looked straight at Matt. "What do you want?" he said flatly. "I don't need more lies unloaded on me today." Matt nodded slowly, taking that in. "Fair." He reached to the table and set down a photo. "Tom has this," he said. "It's him and her." Jeffrey's eyes dropped to it, his voice softened without permission. "My mom." Matt gave a small nod. "Yeah." Jeffrey stared, trying to take in a face he'd never seen before but somehow felt. Matt continued carefully. "Tom was destroyed when she died giving birth to you, completely. He didn't even want to see anyone for a while." He hesitated, choosing his words, "including you." Jeffrey's jaw tightened. "Tom." Matt didn't defend it, just told it straight. "He lost everything at once, his girlfriend, his job, and what he thought was his future. He did want to keep you, he said that, they all said that." Jeffrey looked up, eyes sharper now. "Then why didn't he?" Matt exhaled. "Because when you were diagnosed with cerebral palsy," he panicked. "He didn't think he could handle it on his own." The room went still. Jeffrey's hands tightened slightly on his chair. "So he gave me up," he said quietly. Matt didn't sugarcoat it. "Yeah." A long silence followed. Peter stood off to the side, watching Jeffrey more than anyone else, ready if this went sideways. Jeffrey looked back down at the picture. "She never got a choice," he said. Matt shook his head. "No, she didn't." Another pause. Then Jeffrey looked up again, anger mixing with something deeper. "And he did," he said. "He chose." Matt met his eyes. "Yes." That truth sat there, heavy, unavoidable. Jeffrey swallowed hard, voice low. "So all this time I wasn't just given up." He blinked, trying to hold it together. "I was decided against." Peter stepped a little closer at that, but didn't interrupt. Matt spoke carefully. "You were a kid in the middle of people who were scared and broken. They made a choice they thought they could live with." Jeffrey shook his head slightly. "Yeah," he said. "Well, I'm the one who had to live with it." Silence again. But this time it wasn't confusion. It was clarity, and it hurt more. Jeffrey didn't look up from the photo as he spoke. "Matt, thanks for the picture," he said quietly, "but when you go, please take it with you." Matt frowned slightly. "Jeffrey." "I can't be here right now," Jeffrey cut in, his voice starting to shake. Please don't follow me, please, I just can't. The room went still. Peter looked between them, then back to Jeffrey. He could see it, this wasn't anger anymore, this was overload. Matt hesitated, then nodded slowly. All right. He reached out and gently took the picture back, not arguing, not pushing. I'll hold on to it, Matt said softly, whenever you're ready. Jeffrey nodded once, barely. Peter stepped closer, lowering his voice. You want me with you, or you need space? Jeffrey swallowed, space but not far. I hear you, Peter said, I'll be right outside. Jeffrey let out a shaky breath, gripping the controls of his chair. Okay. He turned and headed out, not looking back this time. Peter watched him go, then looked at Matt. Give him time, Peter said quietly. Matt nodded, holding the photo a little tighter now. I will. And for once no one followed Jeffrey. They just let him go where he needed to be. Ron stepped closer, lowering his voice. Matt, give it to me, he said gently, just in case he changes his mind. Matt hesitated, then handed over the photo. Ron looked around the room, thinking for a second. I'll put it somewhere high, he won't have to reach for it, but he'll still be able to see it if he wants. Matt nodded, that's probably better. Peter leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed but relaxed, gives him control without taking it away. Ron carefully placed the picture up on a shelf, visible but not in Jeffrey's face, not something he'd have to deal with unless he chose to. There, Ron said quietly, it's there if he wants it. A small pause settled in. Matt exhaled, I just didn't want to push him. You didn't, Peter said, you actually listened, that matters. Ron glanced toward the hallway where Jeffrey had gone. He'll come around to it, Ron said, not today, maybe not soon, but someday. Peter nodded slightly, yeah, on his time. And for once, everyone seemed to understand, that was the only time that mattered. A week later, Jeffrey sat in his chair, staring across the room. Peter, can you move that photo? He said, quieter now but firm. It's blocking Mom. Peter glanced up at the shelf, then back at him, blocking. Jeffrey nodded. Dad thinks I'm supposed to feel something looking at it, but Sue, she's the one who helped me with homework. She's the one who stayed in the hospital after my surgeries. His voice didn't rise, it just settled into something certain. That's my mom. Peter took that in, really hearing it. What do you want me to do with it? He asked. Jeffrey shrugged slightly. I don't care, give it back to Matt, burn it, just don't let it block our mother. Peter nodded once, no argument. All right. He walked over, took the photo down carefully and held it for a second, respecting what it was but not forcing what it was. Then he turned back to Jeffrey. I'll give it back to Matt, Peter said, no drama. Jeffrey gave a small nod, thanks. Peter stepped closer, lowering his voice just a bit. And for what it's worth, you get to decide who Mom is, nobody else. Jeffrey looked at him, a little less guarded than before. Yeah, he said, I know. The room felt lighter somehow. Not fixed, but clearer. Jeffrey shifted slightly in his chair, the tension from the past week quieter now, but still there under the surface. Can you make me something? He asked, I'm hungry. Peter glanced over, a small, normal kind of moment breaking through everything else. How about some eggs? Jeffrey gave a small nod. Yeah. Coming up, Peter said, already heading toward the kitchen. A few minutes later, the smell of warm eggs filled the space, simple, familiar, grounding. Peter brought the plate over, setting everything within reach before pausing. You good or you want help? He asked. Jeffrey hesitated, then admitted quietly, help. Peter nodded like it was no big deal. All right. He pulled a chair over, keeping things calm and unhurried, helping Jeffrey eat at a steady pace, making sure he was comfortable, not rushing him, not making it awkward. For a while neither of them talked. It wasn't heavy this time. Just quiet. Normal. Halfway through, Peter glanced at him, better. Jeffrey nodded slightly, yeah. Another pause. Then softer, thanks. Peter gave a small shrug, anytime. And for that moment at least, things weren't about the past or secrets or who was who. Just breakfast. And someone making sure he didn't have to handle it alone. Ron walked in, noticing the photo now sitting off to the side instead of up on the shelf. Peter, why is this here? He asked. Peter didn't make a big deal out of it. It was blocking Mom. Jeffrey asked me to move it, said to give it back to Matt, throw it away, or burn it. Ron's expression shifted, a bit of realization hitting him. I just put it up without thinking. Peter nodded, yeah, he noticed. Ron looked toward the other room where Jeffrey was, quieter now. I wasn't trying to replace anything. I know, Peter said, but for him it felt like that. Ron let out a slow breath. Sue's his mom, that's not something I should have messed with. Peter leaned lightly against the counter. He's not saying the other one doesn't matter, just not like that, not right now. Ron nodded, makes sense. A pause. What do you want to do with it? Ron asked. Peter glanced at the photo, then back toward the hallway. I'll give it back to Matt, let him decide. Ron agreed quietly, yeah, that's probably best. They both stood there for a second, not arguing, not overthinking it this time. Just respecting where Jeffrey was at. Ron hesitated at the doorway, watching Jeffrey for a long moment. Jeffrey, are you sure? He asked gently. Jeffrey didn't look away this time. He abandoned me after she died, he said quietly. You stayed after Sue died, that's all I needed to know. A pause, heavy but steady. Dad, Jeffrey added, voice firmer now, you are more of a father than Tom will ever be, so yes, I'm sure. Ron's expression changed instantly, shock first, then something softer, more emotional he clearly didn't expect. He stepped forward slowly, careful not to overwhelm him. Hey, Ron said quietly, you don't have to decide everything in a rush like this. Jeffrey shook his head. It's not a rush, it's just the truth I've been living already. Peter stood nearby, watching, not interrupting. He could tell this wasn't anger talking anymore, it was clarity formed from everything Jeffrey had been through. Ron swallowed hard. I never wanted to replace anyone. You didn't, Jeffrey said, you showed up, that's the difference. Silence settled between them, not awkward, just real. Ron finally nodded. All right, then I'm here, whatever that means to you. Jeffrey's shoulders eased slightly, just a fraction. It means a lot, he said. Peter exhaled quietly, glancing between them. No fixing. No forcing. Just a decision made and accepted. Ron stayed quiet for a second, taking in Jeffrey's words before speaking carefully. What should I say to Matt then? He asked. Jeffrey didn't hesitate. The same thing I just told you, he said. He's a dad, so he should understand. I'm done crying over people that never wanted me. The room went still. Peter looked at Jeffrey, not challenging him, just watching to make sure he really meant what he was saying, not just reacting in the moment. Ron nodded slowly, absorbing it. All right, I'll tell him that. Jeffrey leaned back slightly in his chair, exhaustion showing more than anything else now. Good. Ron hesitated at the door again. You want me to soften it or just say it like that? Jeffrey shook his head once. Don't change it, I'm tired of things being changed. A pause. Then Ron gave a quiet nod. Okay. Peter stepped in gently after Ron left the room. You holding up all right? Jeffrey didn't answer right away. Then quieter, I'm not sad anymore, just empty. Peter nodded like he understood what that meant without pushing it further. All right, he said softly, we can work with empty. And for now, that was enough. No fixing, no forcing, just letting Jeffrey exist where he was without being pulled in 10 directions at once. Peter stepped a little closer, slow and careful. Like he was giving Jeffrey every chance to pull away if he needed space. Jeffrey didn't pull away. Instead, something in him finally cracked open. A sob hit him out of nowhere, sharp, unexpected, like his body had been holding it back on pure exhaustion alone. Then another. And another. His hands curled into the blanket, shoulders shaking as everything he'd been holding together over the past week finally came crashing down at once. Peter didn't rush in. He just stayed there. I've got you, he said quietly. Jeffrey shook his head through the tears, breath uneven. I'm fine, I'm. But the words didn't match what was happening and he knew it. His voice broke completely. Peter knelt slightly beside him, steady and grounded. You don't have to be fine right now. That was it. Jeffrey let go fully then, crying hard, not trying to stop it anymore, just overwhelmed by everything that had been sitting under his skin for days, weeks, years. Peter stayed close, not touching unless Jeffrey leaned in first, just present. "You're safe," he said again, calm and low. "You're not alone in this." Jeffrey couldn't answer. He just kept crying, finally letting it all out without anyone telling him to stop or fix it or be stronger. And for the first time in a long while, he didn't have to hold it together. Jeffrey's voice was quieter now, but tight with hurt that hadn't fully settled. "I told Dad I didn't want the picture," he said. "Not only did Ron take it, he placed it in front of Mom, his wife. He knew what he was doing." Peter listened without interrupting, letting Jeffrey get it all out. Jeffrey wiped at his face, frustrated with himself for still shaking. It wasn't just some mistake, he knew. Peter exhaled slowly. "Yeah, I hear you." A pause. "But Jeffrey," Peter added gently, "I don't think Ron did it to replace her. I think he thought he was helping you feel connected to everything at once, and he got it wrong." Jeffrey shook his head immediately. It didn't feel like help. "I know," Peter said, "and what matters is how it landed on you. That part's real." Jeffrey leaned back slightly, exhausted again. I can't keep having people decide what I'm supposed to feel." Peter nodded. "Then don't let them." Another pause. Peter continued, calm but firm. "You already told him what you needed. That picture isn't yours and it doesn't belong in your space unless you choose it. That boundary is clear." Jeffrey swallowed, breathing uneven but steadier. "I don't want it there," he said again, softer. "Then it doesn't stay there," Peter replied simply. "We handle it your way." Jeffrey looked down at his hands. Not fixed, but hurt. And that, for the moment, was enough to keep him grounded. Jeffrey's voice dropped, rough with exhaustion and anger that had been sitting under everything else. "You thought I was being picky," he said, "but last week I saw it there while I did PT. Ron was trying to break me and he did." Peter didn't react sharply, he didn't defend, didn't argue. He just stayed still for a second, letting Jeffrey's words land fully. Then he spoke carefully. "I hear why it felt like that to you," Peter said. "Seeing something like that in your space when you didn't want it there, especially during PT, it would feel like pressure, like you're not being listened to." Jeffrey looked away, jaw tight. "Because I was." Peter nodded once. "Yeah, that part matters." A pause settled between them. Then Peter added, more grounded but steady, "But I don't think Ron set out to break you. I think he made a decision without understanding how much control you needed over your environment right now, and that still hurt you. Both can be true." Jeffrey's breathing was uneven, but he was listening. Peter continued, "What matters now is that you said no, clearly, and it gets corrected, not debated." Jeffrey finally looked at him again. "I don't want it to be complicated." "Then we make it simple," Peter said. "No more placing things in your space without asking, that's it." Jeffrey swallowed, tension easing just a fraction. "Okay." Peter nodded, "And if someone crosses that line again, we fix it immediately. No waiting a week." Jeffrey leaned back slightly tired. "I just don't want to feel like I'm fighting everyone all the time," he muttered. Peter's voice softened. "Then you don't have to fight alone, that's the difference now." And for once the focus shifted away from blame and toward control being given back to him. Ron came back into the room slower this time, his expression more serious than before. "Jeffrey," he said carefully, "I was a complete idiot to have that picture in front of Mom and taking it from Matt." Jeffrey didn't soften, he just looked at him. Then flatly, "Peter isn't my uncle, he's my brother. Tom and that woman aren't my parents, you Sue and Will are." The words landed hard in the room. Peter stayed still, he didn't interrupt, but his jaw tightened slightly at the emotional weight of what Jeffrey was sorting through. Ron frowned, trying to understand. "Then why go looking, why dig into all of this?" Jeffrey's voice cracked just a little, but he didn't back down. "So I can stop asking questions in my head," he said, "so I can stop waking up not knowing who I am." Silence followed. Not the uncomfortable kind this time, the kind where everyone actually heard him. Ron's expression shifted, the defensiveness faded. "Okay," he said quietly, "that makes sense." He stepped back a little, giving Jeffrey space instead of pressure. "I messed up with the photo," Ron admitted. "No excuses, I thought I was helping you connect things, I didn't realize I was making it worse." Jeffrey didn't respond right away. Peter finally spoke, calm but firm. What he needs isn't more connections forced on him, it's stability, consistency, his choices. Ron nodded, understood. A pause. Then Ron looked at Jeffrey directly. What do you want me to do now? Jeffrey hesitated, then said it simply. Just stop putting things in my life I didn't ask for. Ron nodded immediately. Done. Peter exhaled slightly, tension easing. And for once, the room wasn't full of people trying to define Jeffrey. Just people finally listening. Jeffrey's voice came out quieter now, worn out rather than angry. I hated that photo by Mom, he said. I truly didn't understand it. Tom and her looked like they were still in high school. She looked overwhelmed with the pregnancy with me. I think it wasn't easy for him doing everything for me by himself. He swallowed, eyes down. Tomorrow, can one of you take me to Tom? I want to talk to him. Peter looked at him first, steady and calm. Yeah, I can take you. Ron nodded too, more cautiously. If that's what you want, I'll make sure it happens. There was a brief silence. Peter stepped a little closer, not pushing. What do you want to say to him? Jeffrey hesitated, then admitted honestly, I don't know yet, I just don't want to keep guessing in my head anymore. Peter nodded like that made perfect sense. Then you don't have to plan it all tonight. Ron added softly, we can set it up, no pressure, you lead the conversation when you're ready. Jeffrey exhaled slowly, some of the tension finally easing from his shoulders. Okay, he said. Not fixed. Not resolved. But moving forward on his terms, and for the first time that was enough. Tom looked up as Jeffrey entered. Glad you came back, Tom said quietly. Jeffrey didn't ease into it. I want real answers, Tom, he said, voice tight. Why? Tom took a slow breath, like he'd been carrying this for years. Kim and I went to the same law school, he began. She got pregnant with you, her family never knew until she died. Jeffrey stayed still in his power chair, watching him closely. Tom continued more carefully now. Pat and her parents convinced me to give you up. I was young, I listened, I didn't fight it like I should have. A pause. Then Tom's voice dropped. I didn't even know you were my kid until I changed your diaper. I saw the birthmark in the same place my baby had. Silence hit the room. Jeffrey's face didn't change right away, but his grip on the chair tightened slightly. Peter stood nearby, not interrupting, just watching Jeffrey to make sure he was okay. Jeffrey finally spoke, voice low. So you held me and still didn't keep me. Tom flinched. I didn't understand at first, and by the time I did everything was already set in motion. Jeffrey shook his head slowly. All these years, he said, and I was just something that got decided about. Tom stepped forward slightly. No, you were my son, you still are. Jeffrey looked up at him, eyes tired but sharp. Then why did it take you this long to say it to my face? Tom didn't answer right away. And in that silence nothing was fixed, but everything was finally out in the open. Jeffrey didn't look away when he said it. Peter, I want a DNA test. The room went still. Tom frowned slightly. Why? Jeffrey's voice was flat but steady, because I don't believe you. A long pause followed. Peter stayed close, not stepping in, just watching Jeffrey carefully, making sure this wasn't spiraling but also not shutting him down. Tom exhaled slowly. Jeffrey, I told you what happened, I told you the truth. Jeffrey shook his head once. It's your truth, not proof. That hit harder than anything else so far. Peter finally spoke, calm and grounded. A DNA test isn't an attack, it's just certainty. If it helps him stop spiraling in his head, then it's reasonable. Tom looked conflicted, then nodded slowly. Okay, we can do that. Jeffrey didn't relax right away. When? As soon as possible, Tom said. I'll arrange it. Jeffrey studied him for a moment, then gave a small nod. Good. Peter stepped a little closer, and until then. Jeffrey answered honestly, until then I stopped guessing. Peter nodded, that's a start. The tension didn't disappear, but it shifted. From arguments about truth to something more stable. Proof would come. And for now, that was enough to hold everything in place. Peter watched him for a moment, then spoke gently. Are you sure about this? Jeffrey didn't hesitate this time. I've been lied to my whole life, he said. Tom thinks I'm his kid. Before anything else, I need to know for sure. His voice was steady, but there was exhaustion underneath it, like he was done carrying uncertainty. Peter nodded slowly. Okay, I hear you. He stepped a little closer, calm and grounded. We can do the DNA test, no pressure from anyone, just facts. Tom stood nearby, quiet now, no argument coming from him. Jeffrey glanced between them. I'm not doing this to punish anyone, he added. I'm doing it so my head stops running in circles. Peter nodded again. That makes sense. A pause settled in the room. Then Peter said, we'll set it up properly, medical grade, no shortcuts, and we wait for results together. Jeffrey gave a small nod. Good. No one pushed him after that. Because this time, it wasn't about stories anymore. It was about certainty and letting him finally stop guessing. A few weeks later, the results were finally in. Peter drove Jeffrey to Tom's place, the folder sitting heavy in everyone's awareness the whole way there. When they stepped inside, Tom was already standing there tense. Peter opened the envelope, read it once, then froze. Oh shit, Peter said under his breath. Jeffrey's head snapped up. What? Peter looked at him, then at Tom, then back at the paper like he needed a second to process it. Tom, Jeffrey, Peter said slowly, you and father and son. Jeffrey blinked. What? Peter corrected himself, voice steadier now. You're his son, the test confirms it, there's no doubt. The room went silent. Tom closed his eyes like he'd been bracing for it his whole life but still couldn't fully breathe when it became real. Jeffrey didn't move at first. Then quietly, so it's true. Peter nodded, yeah. Jeffrey exhaled slowly, looking down at his hands in the chair. I guess that part wasn't a lie, he said almost to himself. Tom stepped forward carefully. Jeffrey. Jeffrey didn't look up right away. Peter stayed nearby, ready, but not interfering. Jeffrey finally spoke, voice low. Being your son doesn't fix anything. Tom nodded immediately. I know. Jeffrey looked up then, eyes tired but clear. But it explains why everything felt like it didn't fit. Peter gave a small nod. That's the first real piece of certainty you've had. The room didn't suddenly heal. But something shifted, quietly, permanently. From guessing to knowing. Jeffrey's breathing changed the moment the words settled in. Excuse me, he said suddenly. He didn't wait for anyone to respond, he just turned his chair and headed for the door. Jeffrey, Peter started, taking a step after him. Need a sec, Peter added, softer now, trying to give him space but still stay close. Jeffrey didn't slow down. Not right now, Peter. That stopped Peter in place. He nodded once, backing off immediately. Okay, I'm here when you need me. Jeffrey rolled outside, the door closing behind him. The air felt different out there, colder, quieter. He stopped just far enough away from the house, hands resting on the controls but not moving anymore. Inside, Peter stayed near the doorway, not following, just watching from a distance like he promised. Tom didn't move either. Jeffrey stared out ahead, jaw tight, chest rising and falling unevenly as everything finally caught up to him. Not anger. Not disbelief. Just too much. For a long time, nobody pushed him. Peter finally spoke quietly from inside, not stepping out. Take your time. And for once, that was the only expectation in the room. Time. Nothing else. Tom stood near the doorway, watching Jeffrey outside, then spoke quietly, more to himself than anyone else. The one thing he needed to be a lie turned out to be the truth. Peter glanced at him. Yeah, he said after a moment, and the truth doesn't always land cleanly. Tom nodded slowly, eyes still fixed on Jeffrey through the glass. I thought the test would end the uncertainty. I didn't think about what it would do to him once it was confirmed. Peter's voice stayed steady. Knowing who your biological father is doesn't automatically make it feel like it fits, especially after everything he's been through. Tom swallowed hard. I missed years I can't get back. Peter didn't argue that, he just said, right now he's not reacting to the result, he's reacting to everything that came before it. Outside, Jeffrey stayed still in his chair, breathing uneven but controlled, like he was trying to keep himself from tipping over. Inside, Tom finally asked quietly, what do I do now? Peter didn't hesitate. You don't chase him, you don't fix it with words, you show up consistently, and you let him decide what you are to him. Tom nodded, absorbing that. Peter added, and you accept that he might need time before he can even say anything to you. Tom looked down. I understand. Another pause. Peter glanced outside again. Right now, the best thing you can do is nothing that adds pressure. Tom stayed where he was. And outside, Jeffrey remained in his own silence, processing a truth that answered one question but opened 10 more. Jeffrey didn't turn around when he spoke. Peter, let's go. I got what I came for, so let's go. His voice was steady, but it carried that exhausted edge again, like he'd reached his limit for how much more he could take in one day. Peter watched him for a second from the doorway, then nodded. Okay, he said simply, no arguing, no delay. Tom shifted like he wanted to say something but stopped himself. Peter stepped out toward Jeffrey's chair, calm and careful. I'm here. Jeffrey gave a small nod, eyes still forward. They didn't rush him. Peter just guided things naturally, giving Jeffrey control over the pace as they turned away from the house. For a moment, nobody tried to fix anything. No more explanations. No more revelations. Just movement out of the moment that had finally given him answers, even if those answers didn't feel like relief yet. As they got into the car, Peter glanced over. You did what you came to do, he said quietly. Jeffrey stared out the window. Yeah. A pause. Then softer, now I just need time to figure out what that means. Peter nodded, you've got it. And they drove off, leaving the house, the answers, and the silence behind them for now. Jeffrey sat in his power chair, staring ahead as the car moved. One thing he said to me, he began quietly, it was the one thing I was hoping would be a lie. He swallowed hard. And he told me the truth, the one thing I didn't want to be true. Peter kept driving for a moment before speaking softly, the DNA result. Jeffrey nodded slightly. Yeah, he said, that I'm his son. A long silence settled in the car. Not tense, just heavy. Peter glanced at him briefly. Sometimes the answer we want least is the one that's actually real. Jeffrey let out a slow breath. It doesn't feel real, it feels like I lost something I didn't even know I was holding onto. Peter nodded, that makes sense. Jeffrey's voice dropped a little. I thought if it wasn't true, I could just go back to what I already knew, even if that was messy, at least it was stable. Peter didn't interrupt. But now it's real, Jeffrey continued, and nothing goes back to how it was. Peter's voice stayed calm. No, it doesn't go back. A pause. Then Peter added, but it can still go forward, just differently than you expected. Jeffrey looked out the window, quiet again. I don't know what forward is supposed to look like, he admitted. Peter nodded, you don't have to know that today. And for now, the car just kept moving, no answers needed in that moment except the next mile.